Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Is Wang Yibo really 28? Or is time simply kinder to people who live simply? Today, we step past the spotlight into the quiet places. The home, the kitchen, the jokes, and the choices that turned a too-young banker into the actor everyone's talking about. Stay to the end for a moment you'll want to try tonight. Behind the easy smile lies a better question than, is he really 28? Why does he seem untouched by the clock? The answer begins far from the red carpet, in routines so quiet they scarcely register as effort. A disciplined bedtime, a room put back in order, ingredients chosen with care. On screen, he carries the steel of a strategist. Off screen, he guards a small, deliberate life where noise is trimmed and attention is saved for what matters. That contrast creates the impression of youth. Not the gloss of denial, but the renewal that follows consistency. You sense it in the way he listens before speaking, how a pause lands with intent, how a glance carries more weight than a flourish. The home shapes this rhythm. The light through a window, the calm geometry of a tidy kitchen, the kindness baked into cooking for others. Craft is not a mask over chaos. It is the overflow of a settled interior. In that space, age stops being a headline and becomes a context, years measured not by gossip but by practice. The smile, then, is not an act. It is the residue of a life arranged to make good work possible. Doubt was the first critic. A leaked photograph in a neat bank uniform, a few quick takes on social media, and the verdict seemed ready-made. Too young for the role, too light for the weight of a man shaped by numbers and history. The performance that followed did not argue back with volume but with discipline. He began by treating uncertainty as material. Every question became a task, every weakness a drill. He watched bank clerks as they moved through doorways and spoke to strangers, noting the economy of gesture that comes from long practice. He worked on breath until a line could arrive steady even after a hurried walk. He marked the spine of the character, how responsibility makes a back straighter, how fear makes a shoulder hover and then set. On set, he built scenes from the inside out. He let silences carry meaning. He measured his gaze as if it were currency. The early, hesitant smile became a ledger of calculation and risk. The sort a young man wears when he knows the world is measuring him and chooses to learn in public. What people call eye acting is often a choreography of attention. When to look, when to blink, when to hold still and let the camera do the moving. He practiced these details like scales, then set them aside so that instinct could take the lead when the lights came up. Discipline lives at home, long before it appears on screen. He kept hours that respected sleep not as a luxury but as a tool. He prepared space so that choices in the morning would be fewer and cleaner. In the kitchen he learned what the stage would require. Mise en place before heat, patience as flavor, restraint as the difference between rich and heavy. The habits are simple and therefore rare. They strip away noise so that attention can be spent where the work is hardest. When the series aired, the shift felt natural rather than forced. The same faces that had doubted now read composure as maturity and stillness as authority. There was no triumphal speech, just a clearer line from first frame to last. Doubt had done its work. Discipline had answered without bitterness. The performance stood not as a rebuttal but as evidence that steady practice, quietly kept, can redraw a reputation one measured choice at a time. Chemistry begins where dialogue ends. What draws the eye is not the loud spark of flirtation but the quiet arithmetic by which two presences balance a scene. He enters with a fraction of space claimed, shoulders tempered by uncertainty. She answers by narrowing the distance without quite closing it, an angle of the chin that signals both caution and regard. Their exchanges are scored less by lines than by timing. The split-second delay before she replies, the half-breath he takes to steady a thought, the measured overlap when both start to speak and one yields. In that give and take the frame becomes a field of subtle equations, who advances, who anchors, who protects the other's light. Shot by shot, the geometry shifts. A sidestep opens the partner to camera. A glance redirects focus like a conductor's cue. This is the mathematics of restraint, especially suited to a period world where feeling must travel through etiquette. They honor the era's limits without letting it mute desire, threading warmth through routine. Paperwork shared at a desk, a doorway pause, the brush of coats in a corridor. What the audience reads as chemistry is actually precision in service of care. He lowers his voice to soften the air around her. She sharpens her diction to carry both of them through the noise of the room. Even the silences are divided fairly. His to hold when danger is near, hers to keep when resolve must be seen before it is spoken. There is a moral tenderness in this arithmetic. Neither hoards the moment. Each lends the other grace. The camera rewards such discipline. In a tight close-up, the slightest asymmetry matters. Her eyes widen by a degree and his posture answers by lengthening a vertebra. Her skepticism tilts, his humility levels it. Long takes become proof that trust exists off-camera too, because only patience shared can sustain stillness without dead air. When conflict arrives, they do not erupt. They rebalance. A clipped instruction from her tests his pride. He converts it into effort rather than injury. Later, when she falters, he reduces his presence, letting the frame belong to her confession. The sum is larger than either performance alone. Two actors solving for truth with the smallest available numbers: position, breath, time. By the final scenes, the audience is not asking whether they suit each other. They are breathing in the same measure, as if the room itself had learned their rhythm. Home begins before the door closes. It starts with the soft order of a hallway where shoes find their place and the day loosens its grip. In his world, the garden is not ornament but instrument, a quiet metronome that keeps time for a life lived at human pace. Greenery collects the light and returns it softened. Leaves move with weather rather than headlines. The small labor of watering asks for nothing louder than attention. You feel how the space has been arranged to reduce friction. Clear lines of sight, surfaces that invite the hand to clear and reset, colors chosen to settle the breath rather than excite it. This is not the theater of luxury. It is the discipline of care. The garden trims the noise by teaching proportion. A plant does not hurry. A season cannot be negotiated. Standing among the pots in the first wash of morning, he learns to count in longer measures. It is the same patience that steadies a close-up, the same tact that lets silence carry a feeling further than words. The kitchen opens onto this calm like a sentence finishing its thought. Light travels across a worktop. A knife rests where the hand will seek it. Ingredients are gathered with the humility of someone who knows a dish begins long before the heat. Cooking here is not performance but conversation with the day. Salt added the way one softens a remark, heat lowered as you would lower your voice to be kind. What the camera later reads as composure is built in these modest repetitions. To return objects to their places, to wipe water from a sink, to prune a stem at the right angle. Each action rehearses a respect for boundaries that art also requires. Even rest is designed rather than indulged. A window left uncurtained to admit dawn. A chair positioned where evening settles on the page of a book. Visitors might call it tasteful. The truer word is thoughtful. The house carries no argument. It simply shows what it values by making the valued things easier to do. In such rooms, age loses its sharpness. The face reflects not the drain of haste but the accrual of well-kept hours. The garden does not make life quieter by being silent. It makes it clearer by giving every sound its right size, until work, rest, and affection can be heard without strain. That beige U-shaped kitchen isn't a showroom. It's a system. Storage where the hand naturally reaches. Knives that are maintained, not collected. Ingredients chosen for freshness over flash. New scene idea for your video. A silent cooking montage, only ambient sound, no music. Captions for each microaction. Rinse, slice, breathe, stir, smile. It lands warmth without melodrama and is ultra advertiser safe. We link cooking to acting. Mise en place before a performance, heat control like emotional range, plating like the final composition of a scene. Caring for the plate trains you to care for the frame. The long-time moniker Kugai signals self-awareness with a wink. Lightness isn't trivial. It's a technique for longevity. New interactive idea. Comment challenge. Ask viewers to share one self-deprecating line they use to break tension at work or school. You spotlight a few in your next video, with permission. This turns parasocial warmth into community warmth. Exactly what keeps a channel sticky without courting controversy. A routine that lasts is less a schedule than a way of paying attention. Begin in the morning with light rather than noise. Stand by a window, let the sun set the clock inside you, and stretch until the breath lengthens and the day stops feeling urgent. You are not performing wellness. You are reminding your senses that time can be generous. In the evening, practice a 5-minute reset that respects the smallness of real change. Clear one surface without rushing, water one plant without checking your phone. Brew tea and count 10 slow breaths. Name one thing that went well, return one object to its rightful place. It is humble work, but humility is what steadies the hands. Before any task that matters, try the 2-pass review. First for feeling, second for detail. The first pass asks, does this carry truth? The second answers, where can truth be made cleaner? You will notice how effort becomes quieter and outcomes become sharper. Over days, this threefold rhythm will not make life glamorous. It will make it coherent. And coherence looks, from the outside, like youth. A face at ease, a voice that does not hurry, a body that keeps its promises. Fame invites shortcuts. Craft rejects them. The appeal here isn't perfection but consistency, a reputation for turning down the volume and turning up the work. Viewers respond because it's aspirational and attainable. Water a plant, season a pan, rework a scene. New angle for your episode. A 30-second stillness test. Hold a close-up on an actor's face and see whether the emotion travels without words. Use it once, sparingly, to give your audience a visceral feel for subtle acting without using any copyrighted clips. The smarter answer is this: he's the age that consistent living looks like. When habits align with purpose, you borrow time from stress and give it back to your face, your posture, your work. That's why the question persists, and why it doesn't really matter. In the end, you remember the feeling. The calm after the scene, the steam from a pot, the gentle confidence that tomorrow's effort is already half planned. If this episode gave you a warm lift, do me a favor, tap subscribe, leave a thoughtful comment with the self-deprecating line you'll use this week, and share this with one person who needs a calmer evening. Thank you for watching Star Watch Now. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next story.